What's going on, Bucs fans? Back here again with a special edition of the Pirate Parlay podcast. Super excited about my next guest. He's the man that runs the place. And I'm super excited to have him on. Again, another episode of the Pirate Parlay podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. So we'll get the intro over with and we'll bring him right in.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Pirate Parlay.
Battle intercepted, picked off in the end zone. Bucs are going to beat the Chiefs. We're the champions of the world.
The sickest Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. It's going to be sick.
Back at it here on the other side. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of the Pirate Parlay podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, Jason. We'll get right into it. We're going to bring him in. He's the man that runs the place, makes all the decisions. He's pulling the strings back there. Some might call him the master of puppets. He's none other than the Buccaneers general manager, Jason Licht.
How you doing, JC?
Good. I had to get that Metallica reference.
Yeah, I got it. That's awesome.
So first off, I just want to say, thank you for coming on. I'm going to give you your flowers right off the bat. I know you don't like them. You'll probably throw them in the trash, but I'm going to give you and the staff flowers. 44 of 53 players drafted or signed as UDFAs by this staff. 22 of 25 if you count specialists. Drafted, developed by your coaching staff, your staff on the front office. Just a great job by you. So flowers first. Get that out of the way. But I do want to ask you, have you been surprised at least by how quickly these players have all developed? I mean, you've gotten, you look at the learning curve of some of these players, you've gotten contributions out of nearly all of them so far. Has that been kind of surprising to you?
Well, I don't want to say surprising. I'm glad that it happened. They had to, in the situation that we're in, we had to have young players step up last year, especially, but not so surprising knowing that the coaches that we have and the head coach that we have and the willingness to, on his behalf to play young guys. And then also the passion that they have to develop young guys. So it's a good mix. It's a great thing for a general manager to have a staff like that.
It's kind of unheard of though, right? I mean, I've been trying to do the research and look around. I don't remember another team that has almost entirely their roster made up of homegrown talent. Just kind of how does that happen? Like as far as drafting wise, as far as developing wise, how do you get to where you are now?
I think if you go back and look at every GM's opening press conference when they got hired, they say, the goal is to draft and develop and, supplement with free agency. And I just wanted to stick by that. I said the same thing. And it's the best way to build a roster. And I think you'd find everybody agrees with that. It's free agency is a crapshoot. There's always a reason why someone's available. Sometimes it's legit. We get one of the greatest free agent signings besides Tom Brady that we had was Ryan Jensen. And so you can get some really, really good ones. We traded for JPP, so that's not a free agency signing, and traded for Gronk, so that was not a free agency signing. But you really when it comes down to it, you feel a lot more comfortable paying your own guys.
You guys leave no stone unturned in that process. And speaking of that, one of those stones turned over yesterday. You guys claimed offensive lineman Royce Newman off waivers. What did you see out of him that made you guys want to put in a waiver claim? Obviously kind of a successful start there to his career, but what have you seen from him?
Like his playing style. He's he's a high motor guy, just that fits in with the same kind of guys that we have. He's a scrappy player. He's tough. He's versatile. He's played, he can play either guard. He's played right tackle. Wouldn't be surprised if he'd go out there and hang in there at left tackle as well. He's smart. He's just got the traits that we look for in that O-line. So he's going to fit in. He's going to fit in great, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
You brought most of the guys back from the practice squad that were on the roster, brought in a new punter, Seth Vernon, but you also brought in a new quarterback in Michael Pratt out of Tulane. What did you see out of him? I know you guys kind of were eyeing him a little bit in the draft process. He went right before you guys were able to take Devin, which turned out to be a great pick, by the way, I think so far. But what did you see out of him to want to bring him in and work with him?
Well, he's got all of the intangibles that you look for in a quarterback in terms of his intelligence, his work ethic, his leadership, his toughness. We certainly watched, had our eye on him for a while. Last year, all of our scouts, look at the bowl game for USC. He went into Kansas State, played a great game there. I happened to have one of my college coaches when I transferred to smaller school, NAIA school, Nebraska Wesleyan. My head coach was actually his coordinator for a while there at Tulane. So I've heard about him for a while. So because I keep up with my coach, Jim Svoboda. So anyway, we're very excited to get him. And and I saw that this was kind of all over Twitter or X yesterday, that the Bucs have not won a Super Bowl without a Tulane quarterback on their roster. So that I'm not going to say that had anything to do with the signing, but it's kind of fun to know that fact afterwards.
Yeah, certainly does help with that being the goal this year. He's just a winner too, man. He just he knows how to get the job done. It might not always be pretty, but he goes out there, 9 seconds left, and propels him to a win. But
JC, it's also kind of a cool story. It's funny how things work in the draft. Sometimes the player you really hope to get, you don't get, and then you're glad you didn't get him. And then sometimes the player that you hope to get, you get, and you wish you wouldn't have taken him later on. But we don't have any of those. But we were ready to take Michael with our 7th round pick, and it's never happened to me in my 10 years as a GM where the pick right before you, the player that you wanted in the 7th round gets taken. Right. So in this case, we're glad we got Devin because he's going to be a heck of a player and contribute for us right away. I think he's been this year. At least he's been great. So, but now we get both.
Yeah, that's perfect. And he's going to be going into Coen's offense, which is so far, I got to say, it looks really exciting. How excited are you? What's the excitement level over Coen's offense and kind of running a more offensive scheme? It seems like half the league is running with that McVay tree.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch it evolve from OTAs to where we are now. And, he put a lot on the players' plates early. I don't want to say they were swimming, but there was just a lot of information, a lot of things they had to learn. And he kept telling me that, once we get into training camp and through training camp, everyone's going to be happy. We have all this they have all this information that's been, given to them because now it's moving. Guys are moving a little bit more. Things are happening for them with a little bit easier now. And there's a lot more options right now with each play, depending on the defense that we're getting. So we're excited. The run game has looked good, and hopefully that transfers over to the regular season, and everybody's excited about that as well.
And what do you kind of expect out of Baker? Obviously, you look at last season, 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, added protection up front, playmakers galore with McMillan and Bucky and all those guys joining the fold. What do you expect out of him this year?
Well, I expect him to – last year – he played well because he found an organization that embraced him, that wanted him, that needed him, and he also needed a place to be and wanted to go somewhere where he could showcase what he could still do. He's certainly confident. We all know that about him. But I think his confidence level is even more right now. His comfort level is even higher. And he knows all the players even better now and has, gels with them even more. So, and then we've added quite a few players through the draft and things that I think are going to be able to help us. I know he's very excited.
Yeah, he's poised for a breakout season, I think. Is there any of the position groups that you feel has taken the biggest leap this offseason?
I think they've all taken a leap up in the right direction. So I can't really single one out. I can say that receiver group with the addition of J-Mac now and Cam, we're very excited about him. And I know that Trey Palmer has taken his game to another level as well. So I think this year. So that's one that I'm excited to watch.
And is there anyone or any of the position groups on the roster you feel like it's getting overlooked, like whether it's by national media or maybe even by local media, by us, that we're not talking about either one group or one player that we should kind of be on our radar a little bit more?
I don't know if I think we get overlooked, across the board all the time here. So it's, but I don't know. I think, I know that we've been getting, people have been excited about the run game, but I just don't know how overlooked it seems like our running back room is very, very exciting this year with Rashad and Bucky and Sean. And I think those three are all very legit NFL players.
Yeah. And I think the additions of Graham and Ben, tremendously. You saw it in the preseason game, the push, them getting, horizontal and just moving guys out of the way. I think that's going to be a big help for them too. Having those bigger bodies up front, moving piles for them to execute what they do. I'm excited about that.
For sure. But one guy that kind of gets overlooked is Robert Hainsey, who, right now isn't the starting center, but he's actually improved a lot too. And
yes.
He had a very, very good camp, and he looks like a starting center as well. So we're excited that we still have Robert, and never know if we're going to need him.
Right. Yeah. Well, he got bigger. You could definitely getting more push, stouter anchor, I feel like, as well. So it just, that did not want to have to be the one to call that battle. That was a tough one. You talk about kind of the rookies coming in, some of the free agents we talked about. I just brought up Ben Bredesen and brought up Graham, and everyone's talking about the rookies because of the new shiny toys. But as far as the free agents that you brought in, the guys, Ben Bredesen, Jordan Whitehead, some of these other guys that you brought in, what have you seen out of them? What's been how they complemented the roster, and what have you excited about what they're going to add to this team?
First of all, they've been super competitive and have a great mindset in what they bring to, how they come to work every day, with whether it's Tavier, Ben, like you mentioned. Jordan is the same person that he was when he left here. It's just the biggest smile on his face every day. Nobody's happier than Jordan Whitehead being a Buck. And I think it just kind of bleeds into everybody. So I think those guys are all going to make big contributions for us this year. And the free agent class, we spent all the money on signing our own players, which was awesome, which was great. I think it does get a little overlooked that we quietly had a nice little free agency class.
Of course, any way to overlook the Buccaneers are going to do it. I said it, not you. I want to ask you too about some of these guys coming up, right? So you draft and develop, but now you did it this year. You got to pay your guys, right? So how do you kind of balance out the risk reward value of paying guys early? With the market just exploding, obviously the cap is going up slowly with it, but the market's exploding. Guys like, Gedeke, White, Ott, and Zion, they're all coming up after next year. That tackle market just keeps getting higher and higher, it feels like. So how do you kind of balance out paying guys early? Because you also like to, have guys play out their deal as well. So how do you balance that out when you're making those decisions?
It's just kind of an individual case-by-case basis. It kind of depends on our cap situation as well. And we still go into next year with pretty good amount of dead money that we have to pay off a credit card bill with.
29 million. Yeah.
And so it's, you got to make decisions that are best for your football team. You also want to make sure that the players are happy with their deal too. You don't want to do a deal that they're not going to be happy with in future years. So you want to make sure that you're doing a good deal for both sides.
Right. I'm gonna got one more, then we'll get into some fun stuff and get you out of here. You have a propensity for finding offensive linemen. It's just like they come to you, especially if they're not a big-time school. You still land some, obviously, Graham Barton, Duke, but I think this year was Elijah Klein. And one thing that impressed me when I saw him at rookie minicamp was his get-off. I was like, you kind of read the scouting reports, you watch a little tape, you're like, and then you see it, and he's keeping up with Graham, and you're like, okay, we got something here. You see him play left guard, right guard, get told 24 hours beforehand you're playing right tackle. Just can you talk about Elijah Klein, what you've seen out of him, what surprised you, and how that maybe, if he develops behind the scenes, continues the upward trajectory, how that can change a whole draft strategy or free agent strategy when it comes to maybe that left guard position or another position, kind of down the line when you see you got someone in the pipeline that's trending upwards? Well,
he's the perfect guy to develop right now. He's the guy has all the qualities we look for in not just an offensive lineman, but a player in our locker room. So, I mean, he's right away, he's fit in, and everybody has a lot of respect for him. So, we're not really necessarily plugging him into any one position for next year starting, or, because right now I have hopes that the starting five continue to be our starting five, and we have some continuity there.
Right.
But we do see a very versatile guy we're probably going to give him some snaps at center as well, so he can learn in practice, so he can learn all the positions. So, and he's the type of guy that can do that. So he was a guy that we identified in the process. The entire group, we sat around, all the scouts watched some later round type guys, had pods of players that we looked at, and he jumped out as one of the better ones. We were actually, when we were all said and done, we were shocked that he lasted when he did. And then I found out after we drafted him, it's kind of a cool story, that my sister in college was very, very good friends with his mother. And I had no idea during the process, about this. And he didn't either until someone brought it up. I think his mother told one of the reporters in town, and my sister had no idea. And then all of a sudden they got back together, and they talk, they're talking now again, like they never left each other. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. It could have been a built-in connection, get that little inside that you're not getting from your scouts out there.
That's right.
I want to ask you one more thing here before I get into this rapid fire fun questions. When waiver wire cut downs happen, how does that process play out for you when all those names start to come off the board? Do you get all this? Is it the scouts coming, the front office together when you're trying to figure out, okay, we want to make a waiver claim, who's available? You get the list of all the guys. Like, how does that process? Who gets together? Who's the one kind of looking at that list together with you?
So John Spytek and Rob McCartney, Mike Beal, they organized this process, and it started when it really started at the beginning of training camp, but then most of the work starts when the preseason games start playing. And every scout has a team or teams that they're in charge of, and they look at the players, we call them the bubble players, the players we think may be available that we liked at some point in college or whatever. So you already have a list of players that potentially we would claim these players if they were released. These players we wouldn't claim, but we'd be interested in a practice squad position, and because they're better than the guy that we're planning on putting on the practice squad, or they're not as good. And once all the list of names comes out, we already have them assigned into a group of whether we would claim them, whether we would sign them, or whether we put them on a list that we may at some point sign them or sign them off of their practice squad if something happens to one of our players. So it's pretty smooth once it all happens. And then, of course, the players that you would like to claim, they all make their teams because, most teams aren't stupid. They keep the good players.
Right. Yeah. That's how it goes.
Unless they have an abundance of players at a position like the Packers did.
Right. So during the season, obviously your off days, sometimes you're busy all the time, 24/7, 365. Your job doesn't have days off from like the work week schedule or anything like that. But what do you kind of do to decompress when you get home off season? What are some of your hobbies that you like to kind of put some time and resources in?
So I have 3 kids, boy, girl, boy, ages 15, 13, 10. And I try to spend as much time with them as possible. I went about 20 years, it seems like, with only golfing once or twice a year because, they weren't golfing. They were kids. They were young. They weren't golfing yet. So when recently in the last year and a half, my boys started picking up the clubs, and now they are addicted. So now I'm able to get out of the house, because before, what was I going to tell my family that on a day off, I was going to be gone all day, golfing and drinking with my buddies. So now I'm not drinking, but I'm golfing with my boys.
Right.
So we like to golf. We go on vacation in the summer. We go on a nice vacation every summer to spend as much time as possible with our family. My wife kind of plans that once this vacation ends, it seems like, for next summer already. So those are kind of things that I do. It's spend as much time with them as possible.
All right. These are rapid fire. I'm going to ask you this or that, and then your favorite. You're just going to fire off and come. Okay. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Marvel or DC?
Never really got into either, but I would say Marvel.
Okay. City or country?
Country.
Car or truck?
Truck, although I have a car.
I'm with you there. Movie or TV series?
Movie.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
Amazing. Favorite musical artist?
Metallica, but a very close second, AC/DC.
Nice. Favorite sports team growing up?
Denver Broncos.
Favorite place you've ever visited?
Well, we go every year, but it's Block Island, Rhode Island.
Yeah, can't miss it. New England, love it. I know you sent me some pictures of that seafood. I was so jealous of you. Favorite food?
Steak, but oysters as well.
Favorite cereal?
Well, geez, that would be. I haven't had cereal. I have Frosted Flakes.
That's not gonna go wrong. Favorite game you've ever watched?
2020 Super Bowl, us holding Pat Mahomes with us without a touchdown.
Great answer. Your favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite TV show?
The Office.
Great choice. Favorite dessert?
There's so many of them. Pecan pie.
Favorite season of the year?
Spring.
And your favorite sports memory?
Well, that would also be winning the Super Bowl in 2020. Boat parade.
Boat parade. That's a good one. Jason, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. You guys are doing a heck of a job. I can't give you credit without giving the front office credit. Because if I try to give you credit, you're going to give it to them too.
They deserve it.
So they do. You guys do an amazing job. Super impressed with what you've been able to do this offseason. Really looking forward to watching these guys go out there and handle their business this season. Thank you so much for popping on.
Appreciate it, JC.
Have a good one. There you guys have it. Bucs general manager Jason Licht answering some really good questions, learning a little bit more about some of the free agents and guys they brought in, the waiver claim, Royce Newman, Michael Pratt, the quarterback from Tulane. Getting to know him a little bit more, getting to know some of his favorite things, and also just kind of getting to know, his thoughts on this offense, what he thinks, about the new system with Coen, what Baker's going to do. So a lot of good stuff there. Very appreciative for him coming on. And we'll be back soon. We're gonna be back to our normal rotation here. We'll have a season preview coming up here soon. Then we'll also have a reporter that covers the Washington Commanders coming on next week. So we'll preview that matchup as well. We'll start getting back into that stuff. So as training camp winds down, we'll go back to 2 shows a week. So we'll be back crushing content for you guys like always. I want to appreciate everyone for tuning in. As always, like, subscribe, hit that notification button to turn on reminders. I want to thank our sponsors. We got Homage, who amazing clothing. As you guys know, I've shown you the hoodie. I've shown you the shirt. Check it out. They've got the Baker Angry Runs t-shirt, so that's awesome. Definitely check out Homage. And another one of our sponsors, Tampa Bay Buccaneers Cruise. Guys, definitely make sure you're getting this. They are adding more and more names as we go. It's going to be awesome. Last year, they had about 16 players. They just announced Dexter Jackson's coming back, as well as the names you see right there: Jordan Whitehead, Brad Johnson, Trey Palmer, Graham Barton, Kalijah Kancey, Yaya Diaby. The names go on and on and on. Maybe Zion McCullum, maybe Kate Otten comes back. So a bunch of different players coming on. They've got some great things in store. You can join, not just the players will be on there, but fellow fans on there. You can make lifelong memories and friendships with them. They do a sail away party, trivia contest, bingo, cocktail parties. They do player panels, a water volleyball game, that was the highlight usually of the tour. A bunch of theme parties. The cocktail parties give you a chance to have one-on-one conversations with guys. It's not just an autograph line where you run through. It's pretty awesome opportunity to celebrate with your team and create those memories with fans and players. So definitely check that out. The cruise is from March 7th to the 10th. You can do payment plan up until soon here. December is when all payments need to be in. So check that out. They're going to Key West and Bimini, Bahamas. Definitely check that out. So two great sponsors. We've got another one coming in soon too. So I'm excited to bring them to you, especially if you guys are in the Tampa area. But that's going to do it for this show. I want to thank Jason Licht for coming on. Great stuff. Thank you guys for being here. Again, like, subscribe, comment. I'll try to get back to you guys in the comments as much as I can. But thanks again for tuning into another episode of the Pirate Parlay podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, JC Allen. We're out. Peace.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Pirate Parlay on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.